This week on Coffee with the Brands, we're speaking with David Kish from Mosquito Shield. Grab your coffee and listen or watch along as we talk about this franchise opportunity.
Yeah. So my name is Dave Kish. I am the director of franchise development for Mosquito Shield at the Five Star Franchising family.
Okay. And tell us a little bit more about Mosquito Shield. Let's just say I've never heard of that. What do you guys do?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so what we are at our core is a mosquito control company, right? And so what we do is it's a very simple business model. It's home based, right? You can run it right out of your home. But essentially, we're a lifestyle brand because what we do is we go to other people's homes and let them enjoy their backyards, their outdoor spaces on
Mhm.
a daily basis. More times, what is it, the exact stat? I think it's like 64% of people spend more time outside now than
Yeah.
they ever have.
Yeah.
And about people spend on average 9 hours a week outside in their yards.
Mm,
And it's never fun when you're out back and you're getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, ticks,
right.
spiders, ants. And so what we do is we come in, we take care of that issue
Mm.
so that they can enjoy that outside space a little bit more. And so that's what we
Yeah,
do.
that's great. I can definitely relate. I'm in Texas, so our mosquitoes are Texas size. And yes, you say that, and I've been in my backyard, and I'm like, oh, it feels like an amazing day, because it had just rained or something.
hmm
And I have to come right back inside right at the moment that I get bit by a mosquito, and I'm like,
Yeah.
never mind. So, what is, let's just say I want to buy a mosquito shield.
Yeah.
What would be a day in the life as a franchise owner look like?
Yeah, so we have a couple different models that franchisees could take on. Our primary franchisee, our primary candidate, what they're going to be is what we call an engaged investor. Think they're going to run the day-to-day without the spray.
Okay.
So they're going to be focusing on the management, building the relationships, customer acquisition, looking at books, things of that nature,
Hmm.
because we want them to be working on the business, not in the business. And if
Okay.
they're at customers' houses spraying,
Right.
that's taking away that $100 an hour type work to build the business up.
Okay.
And so that's going to be our primary candidate type that is going to be interested in that sort of model where they're going to hire out the technicians.
Hmm.
But then we also still have a ton of owner operator models where they do all that and they're doing the spraying.
Okay.
And so, but again, most of the time, since we have a sales center
Hmm.
that does all inbound, outbound calls, sells customers, takes payments over the phone, and puts those customers directly into our CRM, none of our owners have to answer the phone at all, right? And so that is
Wow. That's
always
a
taken.
huge selling point.
Yeah, it's completely taken off. How many times, like if you're at home, right, and you are, when do you normally get home from work and you go out and enjoy your yard, right? Think
Right.
about it. You're like,
Sure.
5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night or on the weekends.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when are you going to call a company to come out and after you have an issue, right? That's when you're like, I'm done with this issue. I am done with these mosquitoes. I want it taken care
Right.
of. And they go inside and they make a phone call. Well, they're going to do that during those times that they're getting bit. And so it's going to be 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night or maybe 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And I don't want my franchisee to have to answer those calls at
Oh,
that time. And
you're right.
so this takes that completely off their plate and lets them not have to worry about hiring an admin person to take those phone calls.
That is genius.
Yeah.
No, I'm putting myself in the shoes of someone who would want to buy this, and I wouldn't want to be on the phone scheduling. And you're right. When I've had issues in my home, like mosquitoes or plumbing or whatever, it's like at random times, and I have come across that issue where I'll call and they're like, call tomorrow during 8 to 5, and I'm like, well, I have an 8 to 5 or whatever the case might be. So that is huge. All right, so let's just say that. Let me back up a little bit. Let me
Yeah.
start with another question that most people want to know is whenever I go to buy a mosquito shield, about how much money do I need to expect to invest?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are a very low entry point because of the fact that we have this technology and this sales center to kind of,
Hmm.
and we're home based, that
Hmm.
allows franchisees and candidates to save money on the front end. Our entry point to start a business is only it's a range because every business is a little bit different, right? But
Hmm.
98,000 to 139,000. So it's a very
Okay.
low entry point for a business like this.
Can you explain the range? Like someone who is not in the franchising world, they
Yeah.
might look at that range and being like, that's a big window. Like what all entails, like what all is included in that?
That's a great question too. And so the big differentiators, right? Because we've got a list of things that you need when you start out the business, right? But the big differences where that range is coming from, one
Hmm.
of them is in marketing.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've got like a $15,000 swing in our marketing just alone because
Okay.
some people like, oh yeah, I'm going to spend the minimum, but other people are like, no, I really want to hit my first year off and I want to spend more than the minimum, do the grand opening type flourish. And so that's a big difference. Another big difference to create that is if they have employees right out of the gate or if they're
Hmm.
going to be an owner operator.
Yeah.
And so some of those expenses are built in, the type of vehicle or how many vehicles, right? Those are almost every single franchise, no matter how many territories they buy, it's still
Hmm.
one vehicle and one technician and one marketing expense. So you don't
Got
have to
it.
worry about, oh, I don't want to buy three territories because,
Right.
then I have three vehicles and three marketing. No, no, no. That's not what we're talking about.
Got it. All right. So let's say I have the capital ready. You and I have talked some and I'm really interested in already moving forward, but I'm feeling a little hesitation. Is it possible to talk to other franchisee owners that have this exact concept that they own?
Love that. Yes, we make it a big part of our process for you as a candidate to talk to your soon-to-be peers,
Hmm.
right? I can talk until I'm blue in the mouth,
Right.
but actually speaking with somebody that's living in it, breathing in it, the day to day,
Hmm.
that's going to be crucial for your experience and making your decision to purchase. I have over 400 territories in the United States, and
Wow.
so I have a ton of franchisees that choose from. So I personally, and part of my process at Mosquito Shield is I have two separate types of things. We call them validation. So
Okay.
we have two separate validation types every single week after you become a candidate within my discovery process.
Hmm.
Every single Tuesday, I have an open call for all candidates to join an open group validation with one of my existing franchisees. They get on for an hour, and anybody can join, and they just ask as many questions as they want to. And so that's a scheduled group call. And then once you progress a little bit further in the process and you've
Yeah.
learned a little bit more about Mosquito Shield,
Yeah.
and you can ask more pointed questions to the peers, I
Hmm.
introduce you on a one-on-one basis so that you can have those one-on-one conversations instead of a big group conversation.
I love that so much because I feel like that would give me so much reassurance, and I can
Yeah.
ask any questions that you're the brand and so you're gonna have the best things to say about your brand, right? And
Yep.
so the franchisee, I feel like I can get like the raw, real, like day to day good highlights, maybe bad day expectations, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Um, Another thing that I feel like some people come into wanting to buy a franchise, but they don't have a lot of business training and they
Yeah.
might be feel like insecure when it comes to like running a business for the first time. So, what does training look like? Like, let's say I bought one. What can I
Yeah.
expect from the training that you guys will provide?
Great question. So, we've got multiple steps to training after somebody purchases a franchise. We have something called our initial training, and initial training is going to be we're based into two different subsets. We
Okay.
have our office and business training, where you're going to come to our office in Boston and do an on-site training in person, where we're covering everything from like financials, sales, operations, marketing, like running the business side of the business.
Mm.
And then the other avenue is that we have at the initial training is called field training because we're going to teach all of our franchisees how to spray, where to spray, what the techniques are. Even if they're not planning on doing the spraying themselves, it's still really good to have that knowledge so that you can manage your employees who are doing that training.
Hmm.
So those are the two subsets. But then after that initial training, it doesn't stop there. We have four business coaches. We call them FBCs or franchise business coaches
Okay.
that are going to work with our franchisees. During your first year in business, we meet on average about once a week with your franchise business coach, and they go over everything in the business on a weekly basis. Hey, last week I gave you a task item to go join the local chamber of commerce
Hmm.
and to put out 100 road signs. Did those get accomplished? Okay, this is what's next. Here, this is a different strategy. How's your what business growth are you at? Okay, you've got your 50th customer. What's the next stage? What do you look forward to next?
I love
So
that.
they work through that the entire tenure that you're a franchisee. When you first start, you're going to need more conversations than
Hmm.
when you're
Hmm.
tenured, right? It's just
Hmm.
the way that it is.
Right, right,
And
right.
so you obviously pull those back. It's not weekly for eternity,
Yeah.
but we make sure that that ongoing training is through the entire time that they're a franchise.
I love that so much because that puts a lot of like worries or like fears aside because I'll have a weekly time when I can have like a mentor slash
Mhm.
accountability person,
Yeah.
and that's that's so reassuring.
One of my business coaches, he always says like, "Hey, I can be your friend or I can be your mother. Which do you want me to be, right? I can tell you all the things that you're supposed to do and be really nice, but if you just need a kick in the pants, I
Right,
can do that too."
right.
And so they always will, because all of our business coaches have
Hmm.
either owned businesses before or franchises or been coaches for other home services brands. And so they've been in those shoes before. And so they know exactly what you're going through as a franchisee, and they can really help formulate their approach to what you need.
Yeah, that's great. Some people flourish with tough love, and some people need more comforting,
Exactly.
guidance. But when you become, let's just say I do buy a mosquito shield, and what are some, maybe, let me rephrase this. What is a hurdle that I might possibly come across that I can anticipating needing to, overcome?
I think that there's one main one and then there's a part B. Okay.
Hmm.
So the one main one that always just makes people just a little bit nervous is any small business in America employment, right? And
Yeah.
finding and retaining employees.
Yeah.
Um, Depending on where you are within the geographical United States,
Hmm.
some seasons are longer than other seasons,
Mm,
right?
hmm,
And
hmm.
so if you're going to be in the northern half of the United States, your seasons can be shorter than
Yeah.
if you're in the southern.
Yeah.
And so when you have the seasonality of your business, which by the way can be a massive pro to people by having a seasonal business,
Mm,
like just a side conversation, one step. I've got a guy up in Wisconsin that he loves. He's an outdoors person.
hmm, hmm.
And so his spray season only 6 months long. And so for the other 6 months of the year, he makes enough during the 6 months that he just takes off 6 months, goes hunting, goes fishing, spends time with his family. I've got another guy that
You should have
runs
led with
another
that.
business.
That's your selling point.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? So you can do that. The people down south, they don't have as big of a break.
Right.
And
No.
so, but for the people that whenever you do have that break,
Hmm.
however long it is, you want to make sure that you're getting those people to stay with you, those employees to stay with you.
Mm,
And so there's different strategies we do, but I would say employment is number one.
mm,
We've always, and when I stress bold, underlined, italicized, always, if somebody wants to find somebody, we're able to find someone to do the spray. And
mm-mm.
so it's not like you're starting the business and you're not going to find somebody to do it. We've
Right.
always found somebody to do it. Um, and they don't need a high education level. We're not talking that they need
Right.
college degrees, right? And to do this. And so your pool of employees is massive.
Right.
And so that would be the number one thing. The other thing that is that seasonality. Sometimes that can turn people off, right? Where they're, hey, I'm nervous about only running a business 6 months of the year. I want something full time.
Right.
And I think it's just a different mindset or a different shift
Hmm,
that
hmm.
yeah, it's only 6 months of the year, or seven or eight or nine or 10 or whatever it is. It's not full year, but your goal is to get the business to get enough income and revenue in those 6, 7, 8 months that you don't need to have that other stuff.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And then the one thing I just want to add real quick is that for those people that have that, we call it peak season and non-peak season,
Hmm.
we've added an additional service to our business that is in the winter months
Okay.
to keep those technicians busy. We call it Decorate with Lights. And so we do holiday lighting for our homeowners where we sell holiday lights, we hang them, and then we take them down. And that's from like November to January.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of really good business during that non-peak season or off season.
Yeah. One of my best friends, she does lights with her. She's been doing lights with her dad for like since she was a little kid. So she
Oh,
tells me
good.
it's an industry that has like really great numbers. So
Oh my gosh, right? It's not, it's a high ticket item. I don't know if
it's
if you or
crazy what
anybody
people will
listening,
pay for Christmas lights. Like,
it's crazy.
not not me, but kudos to whoever wants to do that.
Yeah, because I mean, everybody wants their house. I mean, most people really like looking at lights, right? Everybody likes it. They love the idea of having holiday lights, right? It warms them from the inside,
Hmm.
but they don't have a lot of time to hang it. And so if they can have somebody come in and do all the work for them and have their house be amazing,
Yeah,
that's what they're going to pay for.
I love that. Do you have removal services?
Yeah, so if we sell it to you, we'll remove it. That's all part of the
Because
package.
that's what I need help with. My Christmas lights are still up. It's okay, we're still in January.
Yeah.
One question I forgot to ask is like veterans, or do you have any discounts for veterans or, different groups like that?
Yeah, we love veterans. We have a lot of veterans within our system.
Okay.
And we want to really lean into that. So we do have a veteran discount. It is 10% off your initial territory, our initial territory fee.
Okay.
And so, if you our initial territory fee for 50,000 single family homes,
Hmm.
which is the largest in our category, it is 10% off of that. So it's, $5,450 off that dollar amount.
Hmm.
And then we give discounts for other territories already, right? If you're
Okay.
purchasing additional territories, those already have discounts.
Okay.
So it's a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
Most of our franchisees actually start with two or three territories
Hmm.
when they first start. They grow into about 4 or 5 on average. Our biggest person owns 23. That's
Okay.
crazy, right? But it's amazing, right? But
Good for
uh,
them. Yeah.
yeah, good. That's a lot to manage, but they do
Right.
well with it, obviously.
Right.
And so when most people start with 2 or 3 and they really grow into that 4 or 5.
Okay. Awesome. Is there anything that you feel like maybe I didn't ask, any information that you wish we covered that you want to add?
Anything that I wish that we had covered? I
Did we touch
mean,
everything that we need to discuss?
yeah, I would say the one thing about another big selling point that we have for differentiators about us that we're really proud of is a
Hmm.
couple things. We have our own proprietary blend of control product that we use, right? That is all natural. And so natural oils. And so it is EPA exempt, the whole thing. So it's really great for customers that are really trying to be eco-friendly. We have that.
So
And
you
so that
make your own mosquito repellent.
yeah, we created it. We've invested a
Oh,
ton of money, and it's
yes.
our own blend that no one else
Nobody else
has.
will have. And you said it's green.
Yeah,
Wow.
yep. And
Wow,
so,
that's huge. I'm glad I asked that question because we didn't talk about that.
yeah. And so, depending on situations, we might use supplemental products too,
Hmm.
right? Just
Hmm.
depending on. But
Hmm.
our primary product that we use is fantastic. And so we use that year round. And so that's a really big differentiator for us.
Hmm.
And the other thing that's just literally hot off the press, two
Hmm.
things for you.
Yeah.
The Entrepreneur Top 500 just announced this last week that we were voted the number one in pest control the last 3 years in a row. So we just got
Wow.
our third year in a row that we're number one in our category.
That's huge.
Yeah, and you can't overstate that, right? That's
Right.
amazing.
It speaks for itself.
Right.
We don't have to have this. You just put that little brochure
Boom.
up.
Exactly. We've got that. And then our net promoter score, if you've ever heard of that,
Mm-hmm.
it's for people that have not never heard of that, right? It's basically the simplest question is, would you recommend this business to somebody else? Right? That's the question.
Right.
And it's on a negative 100 to
Mhm.
100 scale.
Okay.
To give people listening a perspective, do you have an iPhone or do you have like
Yeah. I have
okay.
iPhone. Yeah.
People love iPhones that
Right.
have iPhones,
Right.
right? And they promote it and they push it to other people. I've got one too, so I'm with you. Their net promoter score is somewhere in like the 70s. It kind of fluctuates everywhere, 60,
Mm-hmm.
70.
Mm-hmm.
That's an amazing score.
Mm-hmm.
We have a 92 out of 100. That is, it's great. It's unbelievable that we have a high, people love us more than Apple people love Apple. And it is, that is also, we're kind of working on our marketing now around
Yeah.
that because we just got that released.
You
And
have to. That's your selling point right there.
yeah, so like we're a reoccurring revenue model that
Mm-hmm.
we have the industry leading 95% of our customers come back year over year. Right. And so once you get the customer, they come back and they love us. They give us great referrals. They do the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of who we are. So that cannot be overstated. All of those things that make Mosquito Shield what we are.
Got it. I think what we didn't touch base on, and I remember reading it on your information sheet prior to this call. If I want you out, to help me with my mosquitoes, but let's just say I have other types of bugs, what other things do you guys take care of?
Yeah, so we have five main services that we offer.
Okay.
So we have our Mosquito Shield. We
Mm-hmm.
have something called Tick Shield. So it's like tick and flea.
Okay.
So our primary customers there are people with kids and people with pets,
Okay.
right? That offer that service. Then we have another thing called Perimeter Shield, which is anything breaching the perimeter of your home. So think ants, spiders, right? So we're gonna have that service. And then also we've got something called Event Shield, and that's for any of those bugs,
Mm-hmm.
but doing for one-off sprays before events. So think about partnering with an event venue or a wedding planner. And on their questionnaire is, hey, would you like Mosquito Shield to come out and spray before the event so none of your guests are getting eaten alive at this outdoor venue? They check yes like almost every single time.
Yeah, I definitely would. That's
Right.
genius.
100%. And
Nobody
so,
wants their guests to be complaining and leaving with all these mosquito bites all over them.
yeah.
You guys have thought of it all.
We
That's
have. And I mean, and then those customers that just attend that event, they're like, oh, this is fantastic because they learn about us. And then we get those customers that way. Or
hmm
the people that are getting married that paid for the service,
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, I need this at my house. Boom. It just creates that. And then they become a customer for life. And
Yeah.
then the last one was the holiday lighting. That's our fifth one, right? And so that we've already talked about.
Great. Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Dave, so much for your time. It's been a pleasure just learning even more about Mosquito Shield, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to work together, and I can't wait to talk with any of the other people that you send over and introduce.
And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Coffee with the Brand. Stay tuned for our next episode dropping soon.